Hello, my beautiful people, Cold Front Mafia. How are you? We're coming up with a new series here. I know we kind of teased it a little bit to you about a week ago. What I want to do this off season is we're going to create something called Buffalo Hold'em instead of Texas Hold'em. There'll be multiple designations that you can give any said player that we're going to be highlighting on each episode. The first week's episode is Keon Coleman. How we're going to do this moving forward, and today's the start of it, is we're going to pick a player with your help, hopefully. Pick a player that might be on the bubble, on the cusp, someone that we need to see more out of, someone that we think that we need to keep this offseason, someone that we think that we need to get rid of, someone that we think we need to go find in free agency or trade for or absolutely highlight in the draft. You know, make sure that we trade up for or make sure that we don't let him slip through the cracks in the draft. Something that's going to change the momentum of the Buffalo Bills in the 2026 calendar year and season that might not be a complete shoo-in. I guess my point is we're not going to do Josh Allen. We're not going to do James Cook. Okay? There's no question if these guys are staying. There's no question if Maxwell Harrison's being, released. Things of that nature. That doesn't make much sense to me. Well, I mean, it's a conversation, but it's not the point of this series. So instead of Texas Hold'em, we're going to call it Buffalo Hold'em. And the reason that we're going for that is because there's many designations, and this is almost like a poker game. When the cards are dealt, and the cards in this case are what I will show you, what I will try to highlight, my film's breakdown, my understanding of that player, some statistics, and then comparisons. You're going to be dealt the cards, just like I am. I'm kind of the dealer. And I'm going to give you my take, but then I want to hear yours, of course. But you're going to be dealt the cards on the player, and then you're going to have to decide, am I going to fold it? Am I just going to say, no, I don't want him around. Done. I don't want to play this hand anymore. Am I going to check? Meaning, you know what? I don't quite know yet. I need to hear more. I need some time to pass. I need to kind of take in a little more information. Okay. Are you going to raise or bet? You feel pretty strongly about said player, but you might not want to give up the house to either keep him or go get him. Okay, that's fine. Makes sense. You put an offer out there for a free agent. You see what his agent says, see what other teams are willing to, do to go get him. You might get raised, in which case you have to call at that point again also. Or you simply all in, right? Is this a Justin Jefferson type thing, which is a hot commodity at this moment? Give him 5 first-rounders. I don't care. I'm all in. Get the guy somehow, some way. It doesn't matter. Bring him to Buffalo. I think it's kind of like a poker hand. I think that's kind of, our options whenever we're talking about any said player. Most recently, the Tyreek Hills of the world, right? And the Bradley Chubbs, who were just released 2 days ago from the Miami Dolphins. Or is Jalen Waddle still in the mix? Still a Miami Dolphin, but if they're completely clearing house, that could be a topic that we, could be a hand dealt, so to speak. So Buffalo Hold'em series episode 1 for Cold Front Buffalo starts now, and we are going to speak briefly about Mr. Keon Coleman. If you have been with me from the beginning, I appreciate you, which leads me into my first point. Before we get going, please subscribe, like this video, comment where it is that you're coming from, what you feel, what you would do with this hand that you were just dealt from me, what you think, and of course, who you want to see next in our next episode. What kind of hand do you want to be dealt to where you have to make the decision of what to do? That being said, Keon Coleman, one of my favorite players. If you've been hanging with me, you know what I feel about Keon Coleman. I feel overall that Keon Coleman has been put into a situation when he was drafted. Let's basically call it the first round, and where he shouldn't have been. He's put on the outside as this ex-receiver, almost in this wide receiver 1 role that I don't think was his to succeed in. Meaning, I don't think that Keon Coleman presented a wide receiver 1 when he was drafted. And he's asked to be a wide receiver 1, which he is not. I don't think that he is a guy that should be getting 10, 12 targets a game and is going to take the roof off the top and stretch the field, make highly contested catches, and have an enormous amount of yard after catch. I don't think that he's blowing anybody's socks off I think he can do some of those things, but not all of those things. And out of a true wide receiver one, I'm pretty certain that what we and any franchise organization would want is them to do all of those. Garner that responsibility off the field as well. Be that guy. Be that role model. You're going to be paid $40 million a year at some point in your life. So get ready to take all of the criticism, get none of the credit when things are good, and just be that guy, almost like a quarterback. That's not Keon Coleman. This is my take, obviously. My opinions. So he was not set up for the right thing. I think he's more of a bigger slot possession type receiver that should be used tremendously in the red zone. Almost, if you will, and I've brought this up in the past, as if a Mike Evans style. Again, I'm not comparing Keon Coleman to Mike Evans. I'm not saying that Keon Coleman is as good or will be productive as Mike Evans has been in his career. Just a side note, the fact that Mike Evans is now saying that he will be playing next year and wants to test out free agency. This has nothing to do with Mike Evans. However, I think that's the style of player that Keon Coleman can be. Big body, physical, strong, can draw penalties, should be used very well in the red zone, and use his freakish athleticism for jump ball 50-50 scenarios. Almost none of which he's been afforded that ability to do or show or showcase thus far throughout his career. Only a small amount of attempts. And quite honestly, this is not a knock on Josh Allen, but Josh is not the best touch, jump ball, go or fade route in the red zone thrower that I've ever seen. He doesn't have as much touch as, say, a Matthew Stafford does. Matthew Stafford's got a rocket of an arm, but he has the touch as well. He can loft that thing up into the corner or over the top of a cornerback, but still within reach to a Devontae Adams or a Megatron. I'm not saying Josh Allen has a Megatron, and I'm not comparing Keon Coleman to either one of those two. But what I am saying is that the touch pass is not necessarily there. A lot of the attempts that Keon Coleman has been given in the red zone over the last 2 years, his 2-year career, have been kind of bullet style passes, back shoulder passes. Some have worked, some have not. I just think that he can actually do more with some jump ball, go get it, it's up to you type thing versus having to thread the needle with the pass. So that's where I'll start with Keon Coleman. I'm going to get into a couple short films here to show you what I mean. I just want to be able to kind of explain myself, then prove what I mean, and then we can discuss and dissect maybe a little bit further afterwards. So one of the first things that people say about Keon Coleman, and I'm talking about on the field right now, not off the field, okay? Off the field is obviously representative of who he is and the situation that he's in, and that's no one's fault. So I'm in total agreement of that. Please don't misconstrue me here. Get your shit together. You're a grown-ass man that's getting paid a lot of money to play a child's game. Please don't let me hear that you're being late to meetings, okay? I'm not an advocate of that. That's a problem. If we can turn this, it's an if. If we can turn this, I think his play on the football field is just fine for me as a Buffalo Bills fan, an advocate of his. All right, so let's start this off. All right, this was a play. This is past year, 2025, first game of the season where he does have some highlights, meaning he had a really good game against Baltimore in week 1. And I thought that this was a catapult into what 2025 would be, which was, 1,000+ yards, 10 touchdowns, a legitimate season, 80 catches or so, maybe even 100. Here's a couple highlights. Here we go. He's up on top of the bottom of the screen. This is about 3rd and 10, okay? 3rd and 10. The sticks, which you'll notice here on the top of the screen, are coming up shortly. And it looks to be like a one-high safety man-to-man. You got man-to-man on the top of the screen. You got man-to-man in the top slot. You got man-to-man in the bottom slot. Then you got man-to-man, again, it seems to me, on the bottom side against Keon Coleman. And then you got 2 linebackers trying to pick and choose who's covering James Cook here. And then it might even be a spy. It might be straight up man with a spy and 1 deep high safety on this 3rd and 10. I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to go back just a little bit. Both the top receiver, which I believe is Joshua Palmer, and the bottom receiver, which is Keon Coleman, are running the same exact route. First of all, Keon Coleman gets to his break point sooner than Josh Palmer. Nobody thinks Keon Coleman has top-end speed. Well, he gets to his breaking point at the sticks. If you can notice, he's 2 yards ahead of Joshua Palmer, maybe even 3. He starts to break to his route. They're both running comeback routes right at the sticks. It's 3rd and 10. Run your comebacks. get a reception, get a first down. That's kind of what this is. Pretty self-explanatory. Josh Allen decides to throw to the left side to Josh Palmer before he breaks. If you notice, number 0 at the bottom of the screen is already turned around. If that ball was coming his way, he would already have eyes on that ball. Josh Palmer on the top of the screen, again, I believe this is Josh Palmer, hasn't even whipped his head around. He hasn't even come out of his break. He's still facing downfield towards the end zone. That ball is already on its way. Keon Coleman's already beat his defender by 4 yards, almost 5 yards. I'll give him a solid 4. Okay, he's on the 45. The defender's on the 41 if we're being generous. Okay, that ball's already in the air. 3rd and 10. Man-to-man, come and get it. This is not like he ran a 3-yard route when it's 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12. And, of course, you're going to be open. They're going to give you that. They're not going to press you on 3rd and 12 if you're running a 3-yard mesh crossing pattern. Okay, I understand. But these are the knocks on Keon that he can't get open and he can't get separation. Well, this isn't even a highlight of Keon Coleman because the ball doesn't even go his way, but he's damn open, and he did a phenomenal job of this route, getting himself open on a 3rd and long, mind you. So here we go. Ball gets thrown. I don't even think – obviously, Keon was not Josh's first option because he didn't even look to his right. I don't believe the entirety of this play. You see the separation differences. The ball's already out. Josh Palmer looks over his inside shoulder. Ball gets thrown over his outside shoulder. Keon also turns over his inside shoulder, but he's got a lot more room and separation there than Josh Palmer does. Just saying. Ball goes into the dirt. They thought it was intercepted. It actually got overturned as an incomplete pass. But I'm saying that's not Keon Coleman's fault. That's all I'm saying. He was wide open. He had 4 yards of separation, and it wasn't on a 3-yard curl or crosser on 3rd and deep. It was 3rd and 10. He ran a 10 to 11-yard route, straight up comeback curl, and he burnt his defender 4 yards of separation. Great job, Keon. Sorry. This is reality. You can't make this up. This is film, right? Can't make it up, people. This is just the hand that I'm dealing you. Okay, second play. Keon Coleman now top of the field. I'm sorry, top of your screen, which you'll see. It appears to me like they're running a cover 3 type because you have a 2 safeties up top middle. Number 2 on the bottom of the screen looks as if he's playing a deep third. Keon Coleman gets past the first level. It might even be like a cover 6. He gets past the first level, and in the bubble, a laser beam from Josh Allen gets thrown in between the safety and the cornerback. This ball gets thrown about what seems to be 11 to 12 feet in the air. No one is catching that football with the exception of Keon Coleman. We can see here how much height he has on this jump. Josh put it to an area where this is an acceptable throw, in my opinion, only if it's Keon Coleman that's running this pattern. Khalil Shakir is not catching it. Gabe Davis is not catching it. Brandon Cooks, not even close. Dalton Kincaid, I don't think is getting up in the air like that. Terrell Shavers, a little bit more athletic. I don't know. Possibility. Obviously, he's got knee issue now, but this is way before. So maybe. I doubt it, though. This is a man that played basketball his entire life and played Division I, high-level Division I basketball. He can jump. He's a freak. Allow him to be a freak because he's more of a freak than the guy that's guarding him. That I can almost guarantee you 100 out of 100 times. He is more athletic and more of a freak than the guy that's guarding him, especially when it comes to elevation and quickness of a vertical jump. It just is what it is. So that ball was placed where no one else can get it with the exception of Keon. Full extension comes down with I don't know what that is, a 15, 18-yard catch. Huge catch, huge play. Need to see more out of that. Need to see more out of him in regards to plays like this. It just needs to happen. They kind of went away from things. Now, let's go the other way. What are the knocks on Keon Coleman? Right? Besides the off-the-field stuff, even on the field, some of the knocks. And I'm going to admit them all. I'm trying to give you the best hand that I possibly can to where you can then make your play. The knocks on Keon Coleman have been his effort on the field. He doesn't consistently run routes with high effort. He'll half-ass through a route. If he knows the ball might not be coming to him or he's not the first or second look, then he just jogs through a route and does not try to get attention off of anybody else. The for the love of the game routes. Completely understood. So I'm going to give you an example of exactly what everyone means. And I agree. I do. This is the stuff that needs to be knocked the heck off if you're Keon Coleman's coaches, and Joe Brady needs to address this. Here we are. It almost looks like the same type of route that he ran in the first play. It's 3rd and long, 2nd and long, I forget. Doesn't really matter. He's running a comeback right at the sticks or a curl right at the sticks. However, this time, the wide zone, there's no flat pattern here. So that wide cornerback or outside linebacker, I believe it's cornerback, kind of drops down to take away that curl or comeback route to Keon Coleman. So he's sandwiched in between the two levels of the defense here. You can see Josh Allen looking his direction. I don't know if it's at Keon or the back, or is that Khalil up the slot. But right away, he doesn't see what he likes. So Josh Allen's going to start to roll to his right. And you can see here with this circle that Keon is sandwiched. He's not open. I'm not saying that ball should have been thrown to Keon Coleman. But what happens afterwards is a problem to me and probably everybody else that's a Buffalo Bills fan, or not even. Josh Allen rolls to his right. We know that Josh Allen is one of the best mobile quarterbacks in football. And even though he's sprinting to the right sideline, he's got a strong enough arm to throw an absolute piss missile anywhere on the field. Now, Keon Coleman was 8 yards away from the sideline when Josh Allen started to roll to his right. He was looking at his quarterback. And now that Josh Allen is rolling to his right, Keon Coleman is still 8 yards away from the sideline. Tell me why Keon Coleman is not running with his quarterback to get open. You can see on this video right here, look at the middle of that field. I have circles that I've drawn on the screen. He has not moved. Josh Allen has already now released the football. He's outside the numbers on the right side of the football field. Keon Coleman has moved 6 feet, if that, towards his quarterback. Look at the middle of that field. Even if he doesn't sprint towards the middle inside the hashes, even if he angles his comeback or his drifting towards his quarterback towards the hashes inside the numbers that he's on, kind of angles that towards the end zone, I think he's got a touchdown here. Josh Allen's got the arm to make that throw. Not many people do, but Josh Allen does. And the fact that he's completely ignoring that and not running with his quarterback, I understand, people. That is a problem. That is a mental boo-boo that need not happen ever again. Ever again. I can't see it. I can't see it happening. So I'm with you, okay? Literally could have been a touchdown. If not, at least a first down and 15 to 18, maybe 20 yards or more. Again, it might have been a touchdown. It might have been a touchdown. So I'm with you. I'm with you with the lack of effort because this is one of those examples. I'm just going to let this play out. Look at that. Look at how much. I mean, that is 11, 12 yards of no defender when it comes to verticality, and probably 15 yards or so with a 12 by 15 circle of nothing that he could have very easily slid himself into. And Josh Allen is known for running to his right and throwing to the middle of the football field. Is he not? I can show many examples. For the lack of time, I'm not doing that here, but just a ton of those examples. Running to his right, throwing the ball back to the middle of the field and deep. Happens all the time with Josh Allen. Now, let's get back into two more. Like that, my point is, those examples right there that I just gave you are the epitome of what people get frustrated with. I mean, that's what I'm sorry. So I'm here. I hear it. I'm not naive to that fact, and I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I see it. I'm going to give both. So I'm going to give the good and the bad, right? Here's his physicality. This is actually 2 years ago. Well, not 2025, but 2024 against the Seattle Seahawks. This is what I'm talking about. This is a simple second and goal from the 2. A man-to-man coverage on the outside, no slot receiver, just here it is, you versus the cornerback. Good luck. This is what Davante Adams has made a career off of. Josh Allen does not just throw the ball floating into the air. He throws a little bit of a humpback, not a line drive piss missile, but not as lofty as I would love. Anyway, let's see what Keon Coleman does. Well, the ball goes over the cornerback's head. His arm is up trying to defend the ball or swat it down. That doesn't happen. It goes over his head. Keon Coleman gets his shoulder higher than the cornerback's head and one-hands a catch, pinning it up against his shoulder. Here it is just from a different view. You can see how much higher he got than this cornerback. His shoulder is above the cornerback's head. And that ball was thrown over the cornerback. And Keon Coleman did not have to even use his hands to go get it, which I would actually like to see a little bit more, but we'll get into that later. But he bodied up a catch over the cornerback because of his athleticism. Touchdown. Where's that been? Where's that been? A couple 2-point conversions here and there throughout the year. That was like the following drive after they tried that on the left side, and I think it was a lower throw, and it got batted down. So Keon was actually pretty pumped. And here's the freakish of all freak, okay? This is the freakish of all freak. This is also 2024 season, I believe. I think so, yes. And Josh Allen rolls around, has no idea what's going on, sees Keon Coleman in the middle end zone break away from. This is almost the exact same throw that we said Josh Allen can make, now that I think about it. On the one with the poor effort by Keon, this is the exact same throw that he could have very easily made to give Keon Coleman another touchdown this year, which is after this touchdown here. So where's your head at, brother? Where's your head at? You know he can do it. Excuse me. So the ball just gets chucked up into the air by Josh Allen because he just trusts his guys. And watch this defender. Watch that ball. The defender jumps. Oh, no. Keon Coleman can jump higher by about 2 feet. And head tops the hell out of the guy. Was it mistimed a little bit by the cornerback? Yes. But Keon Coleman was 1.5 feet to 2 feet higher in the middle of the air than, look at that, then the corner. Actually might have been a linebacker. Yeah, I think it was a backer, which doesn't play well for him. But this is the mismatch that he represents. Is it not? I mean, this is the mismatch that no one can deny. Can you? Can you argue? He's 6'4". 6'4" with monster calves, monster legs, can jump through the roof, freakishly athletic. I'm not saying top-end speed athletic, but he can move. Okay, and he's twitchy when it comes to how quick he can get to his max vert as well. That's a basketball thing. And these are two examples to where it's just like, hey, just if he has the opportunity, he can just out-athleticism. That's not even a term. Out-athlete somebody. He needs to have more opportunities. Yes, he needs to get out of his own head, and the off-the-field stuff needs to stop immediately. But he needs to get out of his own head. And he can do it. Get out of your head. Stop being a child. Get your opportunities, maximize, and then you can have one hell of a career in Buffalo and the NFL, even if it doesn't end here. Okay. Now, enough with the examples. I'm sure you guys like those, right? You like the examples. I just want to move on and go through a couple of statistics of his. Okay? So I'm going to do one more thing before we wrap this up on episode 1 of Buffalo Hold'em. And your cards have been dealt. Let's take a look at this. And you tell me what you think. This is Keon Coleman's career. Okay. 2024, 2025. I put something up on TikTok a year or last week, I believe, when we kind of the immediacy of introducing this series. And Keon Coleman does not have almost any lesser of a stat line than Chris Carter, Hall of Fame receiver Chris Carter had at this juncture or this point in his career. I know that's kind of crazy, right? And I'm not saying that Keon should be compared to Chris Carter. I'm not saying that there's any, shot that I think at this moment in time that he will be Chris Carter or have a career like Chris Carter. I'm just simply stating the facts that Keon Coleman at this moment in time has better numbers than Chris Carter did through the first 2 years of his career. So I'm going to show you I'm going to tell you what those numbers are. Okay. So while we're looking at his 2 first seasons here, let's look at Chris Carter's as well. I'm going to say them to you. Chris Carter for his first 2 years, all right, had 44 catches. Keon Coleman, as we can see here, had 67. Keon Coleman has 960 yards, as you can see right here, through his first 2 seasons. Chris Carter, Hall of Fame Chris Carter, had 845. Keon Coleman has 8 receiving touchdowns through his first 2 seasons. Chris Carter had 8. Hall of Fame Chris Carter. Keon Coleman has a 57.8% catch percentage on targets thrown his way. Chris Carter, Hall of Fame Chris Carter, for the first through the first 2 years, had 45.5% catch percentage. Now, I say that not, again, because of what I just said, not because I think Keon Coleman is going to be Chris Carter. I hope he does. I hope he will. I'm not predicting that he will. I wouldn't put money on it necessarily. But I am saying that things can turn around. This is my point. Chris Carter had a ridiculous NFL Hall of Fame career. He has a gold jacket. And he started lesser statistically only, than Keon Coleman. He obviously then turned it around, because if he continued at that pace, he would not have been in the Hall of Fame, Chris Carter. Nor will Keon Coleman if he continues at this pace. I only want to point out that there is plenty of possibilities and plenty of examples of this, that the first 2 years do not define a player's career, and they can turn things around. That's all. That's all I mean. Again, these are your cards. This series is all about you. What would you do with the hand that you were just dealt and the information that you were just given? What would you do? The caveat here and the cherry on the top is, although the owner of the Buffalo Bills did what he did during the press conference when he announced that he was firing Sean McDermott, and the whole controversy about, well, it was the coaching staff that wanted to draft Keon, not the front office, basically trying to say that the front office should not be responsible for the horrible draft pick of Keon Coleman, which was bad. It was bad on Pagula's end. I was the first one to admit that, and I have that publicly, and it's on this channel. You can go back and watch that at any moment in time, and I won't take it down because I agree with it. I think it was a horrible thing to do. A couple weeks later, when they hired Joe Brady, however, as the new head coach, Joe Brady tried to do some damage control, and I thought he did really nicely. Good for him. He said the best thing to ever happen to Keon Coleman is Joe Brady becoming the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. So that's a little... Just understand that I don't think that that's taken lightly by the head coach. And one of the first public announcements that he makes is saying that a controversial young wide receiver that they drafted at the very beginning of the second round 2 years ago, the best thing to ever happen to him was Joe Brady becoming a head coach. That's telling, people. I don't think he says that as one of his very first statements if they just let Keon go. I don't think they say that if Keon's not going to be a part of this thing. I don't think they say that if they're not going to pour in all maximum energy and effort to make sure his career is successful moving forward. I don't think he says it if he doesn't truly believe it. Honestly, that'd be a pretty terrible thing to do, shoot yourself in the foot on a 50-50 coin toss of whether or not you actually think that you can make this work with this guy. That would be pretty ballsy, in my opinion. So I'll leave you with that. Joe Brady says that the best thing to happen to Keon Coleman is him becoming the head coach. If you see here, 6 games started out of 13 versus 12 the season before. Same amount of targets, more receptions, less yards, same touchdowns. We'll see here. I personally, this is how we're going to do this series. I'm going to give you what I do with the hand that I just dealt myself. I'm going to tell you what my move is at the beginning of the next hand that we're dealing, which I'm going to need your help for. So remember, subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment where you're coming from. Make sure you follow us along on TikTok as well. Stay up with us so we can continue to do this brand new series. Buffalo Hold'em, episode 1. The hand that you were just dealt is Keon Coleman. What is your play? You folding him? Right? You checking because you need to see or hear more? Are you betting, waiting to see if you're going to have to call or get re-raised or what have you? Or you going all in? Those are your 4 options. Fold, check, bet/raise, or go all in. What say you? And tell me who you want done next. I'm going to give you the answer and the play that I would make with this hand when we get into the next hand that'll be dealt. Love all yous. Go Bills. Cold front.